Oi, gente! Donas da Voz está começando. Eu sou Lívia Matos e esse é o nosso espaço de empoderamento, inspiração e muita transformação. Então aqueça a sua voz e vem com a gente. Sejam bem-vindos, esse é o quadro Vozes que Inspiram. E hoje eu tenho a honra de trazer uma mulher inspiradora, para mim especialmente, chamada Vered Levy-Ron. Ela que é alta executiva, tem uma carreira, uma passagem com posições de liderança, muitos e muitos anos, faz parte do board de muitas empresas e é uma verdadeira inspiração para muitas mulheres, né? Então, eu queria agradecer muito, Vered, thank you so much for being here. I'm really honored to have you here. Most of the people don't know, but actually you were one of the women that actually inspired me to be my better version, to achieve my full potential, to be my best version. You helped me to highlight my skills, and I will never forget it. And I'm really pleased to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you. And I'm honored that you've chosen to invite me. And I think it's been wonderful to know you and to work with you. And I think this is a new stage in our careers as equals. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. And I remember the first time actually I saw you. We had the opportunity to work together. Vered was a global VP, product VP in the company I used to work for. And I remember the first time I saw her, she was like leading this group of people. She was like very powerful. And even though she was very firm, you know, you were like very firm, very smart, but it still had the sweetness in your voice and the way you talk to people, and you're always very open to hear what your employees had to say to you. And when I saw you, I actually thought, wow, I want to be like her someday. So I just wanted you to know that you are a big inspiration to me.
Thank you.
And you, when we talk about career, you have been an incredible mentor to several people, to your team, including myself. Mm-hmm. And my curiosity is that, did you have a mentor? And which role did this mentor, in case yes, which role did it play in your life, in your career?
So thank you. I think that as I'm a bit older, I didn't have any women mentors. I think I was very fortunate to have male mentors that really helped me in my career. And there were very few women who were more senior than me. And I wanted to have my own way, and so it was very hard to find the people who could mentor me, and I was very fortunate to have several people who mentored me and supported me in my career. It was very unusual then I had my children when I was relatively young, in my 20s. It was relatively unusual to have children young and to have a career. And I think we figured it out together. So it was really important to have people that supported me and helped me in my career choices.
Do you think this is a regular thing? Like, do you think it's easy to find actually mentors in company? Do you think you're a fortunate person to have that opportunity? Because to be honest with you, I don't see that much good mentors, people willing to teach, to lead in companies today. So back in your time, looking to your career, did you find any trouble, any hard time finding those special people, the special person to help you with this?
So I think you're right. It's hard to find somebody that you think you can trust professionally and personally. And my advice would be is when you find somebody, regardless if they are an official mentor or an unofficial mentor, is you make them your mentor and you invest in it. I invested in these people who have been very crucial to my development. I spoke to them, I updated them, I shared with them openly. I listened to their support and I listened to their criticism. And I kept in touch with them, and they've remained my mentors throughout my career, even when I changed workplaces. And to me, I think at Site, the company that I'm the CEO of now, I launched a formal mentorship plan because I thought that it's something that doesn't happen enough, and people should have access to people that can mentor them. And so I think sometimes you find a mentor for a specific topic, but if you find somebody that you think you can trust, hang on to them and make them become your mentor.
Yeah, that's amazing. This is something like this movement to create a program with mentors, giving the opportunity for most employees to get advice, to have a more experienced voice to help them, to guide them. This is amazing. Congrats. I'm really glad to hear that because, as I mentioned before, I don't think this is a common behavior within companies today. I've been in my career, not as many years as yours, but for a while now. It's almost like 15 years. And I went through several companies. And to be honest with you, it's very rare when you have the opportunity to count and to rely to someone.
Yes.
Right? And when you look to your career, I as I mentioned in your introduction, I was speaking Portuguese, so you didn't understand. But you have a long path within C-level positions within companies, global companies. So I imagine you pass through a lot of situations, barriers, for being a woman, for, to achieve where you wanted to achieve. I'd like to ask you if you faced them, those kind of barriers, and how did you overcome them in your path?
Yes, clearly there's a lot of barriers for women and for anybody who's different, minority, anybody that's different. I think there are barriers. I think the challenges I faced changed as I grew up and my career evolved. In the beginning of the day, it was a lot of prejudice around me being a woman and being young. And you'd walk into the room and you're the boss and everybody assumes you're like the junior person and ignores you. And so I really learned to develop strategies to deal with that. People expect you to behave in a certain way, to look a certain way. My curls, I remember I had a long period when I got so many comments about my curls that I decided to start, like, I would have my hair, back, I would straighten it, and eventually I said, well, this is my hair. And so it's, you have to conform to a certain kind of look and feel. And it took a while to find my own voice, where I feel comfortable with who I am. And you mentioned earlier about my style. So a lot of the people I saw are very kind of like forceful in their style, and this is not who I am. So I made it a point as I, developed my career, not to learn from the people that I don't really value how they behave. So I found my own style. I like to listen, as you said, to my team. I like to listen to them. But at the end of the day, I'm either a general manager or I'm a CEO. I need to make decisions, but I want to make the decisions after I hear everybody's voice. So yes, I mean, definitely there's a lot of, you're treated differently when you're a woman, and I used to only see it as a disadvantage. But as I said, with the time, I've also learned to realize that some of it is an advantage, and not to be afraid to connect to the things that make me different from the people around me.
Yeah, and I think the big advantage is to know exactly what you do not want to become. When you face hard people, difficult people along your career, you see behaviors that you do not approve. I think that's the best part, is when you say, I don't want to be like that leader. I don't want to be like that person. So at least this helps you to have a clear picture where you're moving, right? I have a data here to show you that surprised me a lot. Is that research shows that women are more reticent than men to negotiate their job offers. And there's a study from graduating MBA students that shows that 50% of male, they negotiate their job offers against only 12% of women. This is very surprising. Well, I don't know if it's that surprising, because I think negotiate about money, salary, promotion, I think is still an issue for most of women. Vered actually helped me, mentored me on how to drive very tough conversations about salary and promotion. I remember by the time I didn't know how to talk to my boss, that I wanted to achieve a certain place, to show data, and to negotiate my salary. And she drove me on that conversation in a very amazing way, to be honest. But even for me, after so many years of career, that was a very challenging and hard subject for me to talk about. And I think this is a hard subject for most of women. So I would like to ask you, which strategy do you recommend to women that actually needs to have that conversation. They're seeing like other people, males or other professionals, giving less results and getting promoted, getting better salaries. What do you suggest to them?
So I think before I make suggestions, I want to go a step back, because I think in general there's a lot of statistics about differences in management style between men and women. And there's also statistics about how a man will apply for a job when they meet about 50 to 60% of the criteria, but the women only apply when they meet at least 100% or 95%. And so I think that's where it starts. And I think that seeing that in my career made me realize that women need mentoring on how to ask for promotion, how to negotiate the next role, how to negotiate their salary. I do quite a lot of that, actually. It's like a personal thing that's important to me. I myself, when I was younger, found out that I was earning less than my male colleagues when I was very young in my career, and that kind of gave me that push to say, hey, I'm part of the statistics that women earn on average, 75 to 80% of men, and I made it kind of a case to learn that. And so I think that my advice is that when you're ready for a discussion about your career, you need to come very ready. Ready about what are your goals, what did you do, maybe where you need to improve. And it's like it's almost like it's a play. You need to come ready. You need to practice your script, because women get nervous about that many times. So you need to practice. What are you going to say? How are you going to say it? How strong are you going to push? Maybe you say, I don't know if I'll get it this time, but I'm going to position it for the next time, and be very clear about what do I need to achieve to get a promotion or to get a salary raise. And one of my most important advice is not to talk too much. We get nervous and we start talking a lot in the negotiations. And so I really recommend to people to come with almost a script of what I'm going to say, and not say more. Let the other side talk. And this is the first discussion of many that can come. And to practice it. Practice on your friends, practice in front of the mirror, but practice what you want to say, and then come ready.
Do you know, I think there is a bigger issue behind everything. It's about self-esteem. So even for us, even if I have a script to read it, most of women do not believe in that script. Basically, when I go with a script, I need to talk about my skills, I need to talk about my accomplishments, and etc. So what I see is that we do not have a very good self-esteem about ourselves. We cannot see and value our own skills. And it's hard for us, because when we are talking to someone, trying to get a raise, we don't know if we believe that or not, So I would like to understand from you, first of all, your point of view on self-esteem, and regarding self-esteem, which role actually played in your career development? Did you build a self-esteem on the way, like when you're younger? Did you have that kind of issue as well? You were building along the way? Tell me a little bit about this.
Wow, that's a great question. I think that this is something we all need to develop. It's a skill to believe in oneself. And I also think it's related to having passion for what you do. I see sometimes people around me that they're not necessarily in the right position. I think you need to be courageous about, am I in the right role? Am I passionate about it? And if you are in a role that you like and you're passionate about it, I think when you do well, the confidence comes from that. So I personally, draw my self-esteem from success, from results. I'm very results driven. And so I try and really rely on that and less of what people around me are thinking, because there's a lot of, different people face prejudice. And I also know that you're sometimes treated differently. So you need to learn to draw your own feedback and strength from what you're doing and from the results, and not necessarily from what people around you are thinking. And that's something to practice all your life. And I've been in situations where, my self-esteem maybe was not where it needed to be. And then I think I mentioned before, it's a little bit like a play. You put on a mask and you fake it till you make it.
Until you make it. Fake it, yes.
As Americans say, I really believe in that. And
I believe in that too. Fake it until you make it.
Yeah, and you kind of go in and you're not quite there, but you put on a mask and you're like, okay, I can do it. And deep breaths, and you got it. And you encourage yourself. I also really believe in exercise and in sports as part of keeping yourself positive and having positive energy. And so, yeah, it's something that you always have to work on, I think.
Yeah, and talking about a little bit about sports, about life, I wonder, like having this busy, executive career, how do you balance everything? How do you balance your health, your family, your meetings? How is it for you? Because it must be very hard traveling all the time, having meetings all the time. How do you do it?
First of all, I don't know that I'm the good example for balance. And in fact, I don't really believe in balance because your days can never be balanced. So one of the things I've learned is that balance is not every day needs to be balanced, at least in the kind of career that I've chosen, which is a demanding international management, executive role. So I think I look at it more as periods. If a really long period goes by when I feel unbalanced, then I need to make a change. But I never expect every day to be balanced or every week, because there are periods when you're very busy at work and the focus goes there. But then there's a period that maybe you need more time, or your spouse or your children, your family, and then you need to shift your attention, the balance to that. And so I never manage to balance every day.
I guess none of us, right? Anything.
I don't know,
right?
yeah. So, but I look at periods, and I also I try and pay attention to like my mood. Like as long as I'm happy and liking what I'm doing, I kind of juggle it all together. And part of it is just for me learning that in a full day, there's no difference between personal and professional. And so I taught, for example, my daughters at a young age that if they want to spend time with me, this is like a meeting we need to schedule. So it's a bit weird maybe, but if my daughters will say, hey, let's go for coffee one afternoon when they were younger, I would actually block my calendar for that.
I do that all the time.
So I treat it, I don't have a conventional day. I also sometimes work early or work late. And so it's not like a conventional balancing act. I balance it over the day, so I can, for example, take a break in the middle of the day to go do yoga, because I know that at night maybe I have a call at a late hour. So I try and balance it. I don't know that I'm very good at that, to be honest.
Well, maybe because it's easier for you, because in this case, because I think you love what you do, right? I think it's harder, it's painful to balance all of that when you do not have pleasure on what you're doing.
Yeah.
So when you have pleasure, just go with the flow,
Yeah.
You try to balance everything. I try to work out some days I can. I just can't. I don't have energy to do it. So I think the most important part is that do not push yourself too much, because I've been doing this a lot, like pushing to be a super professional, to be a super housewife, to be a super wife,
Yes.
So it's very hard to balance all the roles we have in our lives. So I think we need to, being happy, it's a very good first step to achieve that, right?
I think it relates also to self-esteem, because if you're doing something you like, then you have the energy and the positive attitude to invest in it. If you invest in something, you become good. If you become good, you gain confidence. You gain confidence, you build self-esteem. So I think it's very important to start with being honest, like, what are my objectives? And I personally think I call it sometimes parking periods in your career. I think it's fine that you'll have a very demanding job where you're really pushing ahead and you're looking to grow, and for personal reasons, maybe you decide to park somewhere. Make sure you park in a good place, and and maybe then you can have a bit more balance for the things that are important. And so I personally don't believe in linear careers. My career was not linear. I've worked very hard. I've taken time off to be with my children. I've got 2 daughters, so I've taken breaks between jobs. And so I think that as long as you kind of know the direction that you're heading in, it's okay if you take little steps and pauses, and I think that's also part of managing, your balance, by balancing out over some years and not necessarily looking for this ideal that every day will be balanced. At least for me, it doesn't work.
Yeah, oh my God, you're so inspiring. I'm just having so much fun with this conversation because you are real. It's not just like this C-level executive, like, that you cannot go through, and you are a real person. You have the challenges all the women have. So this is amazing, just to have this conversation with you. So a lot of women wants to achieve a leadership position, right? It doesn't need to be a C-level, but they want to be leaders at some point. So what kind of advice would you give to those professionals that are starting their careers and want to achieve the leadership position and and have a good career path?
So that's a great question. I think part of it is knowing what you want to do and being open about it, because you can be in a leadership role when you're managing a large team, but you can also be in a leadership role by having a lot of influence. And I think it's important to know what kind of roles you're looking for. And I think it's also important to try different things to see what you like and what you're good at. And I think that it's important to be able to consider those things. I think that you should have a career path, and you should have the building blocks to get to where you want to be. So for example, if you think you want to be a leader and to manage a large team, you need to start managing teams. So you start with smaller teams and you grow. And these are the kind of conversations related to what we spoke about career paths and promotions that you need to have with your boss. This is where I think I want to go. How do we create an opportunity for me? And sometimes the opportunities are not necessarily direct. Maybe you can be on a big project in your company where maybe it's not exactly a leadership position, but you're going to get exposure to senior management.
Yes.
And you're going to have a lot of responsibility. And so I believe in creative thinking with your mentors, hopefully, on what are the right roles that help you get to that position. And I think also you need to be willing to invest. It's to be a leader, you have to invest time and effort. You need to be good.
Prepare yourself.
You have to be very prepared, and so I think that it takes. You also have to be willing to invest.
Do you know when I got my first leadership role, I went to a coach, and I got prepared for it, because I think the skills of being a leader, they're totally different from being a very good professional at some point. It requires different skills, right? So what I see is that a lot of very good professionals are being promoted to leaders while they're not prepared or do not have skills for it, which is a problem, because the team gets frustrated because they're not being led by, right? It's about people, it's about managing their feelings, about hearing exactly what you mentioned. So I think we should not only as well think about what you actually want, do something that you love, and prepare yourself to achieve that. Just like, just have a target and just move forward.
And I would also ask, it's important to be honest if you think it's working or not, because sometimes you feel it's not working, and it's okay to ask, like you said, ask for a coach, ask for help, talk to your boss about, hey, I'm having a hard time managing a team, for example, I need some help. And I think that not being afraid to say that you need help is also very important in order to be able to grow and to get the feedback you need.
Yeah, amazing. That's a very good talking. And I have my last question for you. This is a standard question from the show that I always ask, is like, if you could go back in time, what would you say to your 15-year-old self? Tough one, right?
Tough one, yes. But first of all, I think I would tell myself that everything would work out. I wasn't necessarily a traditional 15-year-old. I was quite wild, quite a tomboy. I loved sports. I loved soccer. There was no soccer team in my school, so I played soccer with the guys. And I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I loved going to the beach. I loved traveling. And nothing seemed clear. I had no clear path. But like, what would I do with all of this? I knew I wanted to travel in languages, and I didn't know where it would all end, and I was very worried about what am I going to do.
I think that most of teenagers have this worry. Yes.
So I think I would tell myself that calm down, things will work out, and a lot of these things that I think made me a little bit different as a teenager are very good qualities. I mean, I love sports, I'm competitive, I loved playing soccer with guys then, and today too, most of the people I work with are, aggressive, driven men still today. And so I think that all these qualities prepared me for my journey to be an executive. And I think that it's something that anybody who's listening, and I think it doesn't matter if you're 15 or you're 30 or you're 40, there's always things to look forward to. And I think you need to take a deep breath and say, well, what do I like to do? What are the things I want to develop? and bring your good qualities forward. And so I think you have to be creative about that and patient with yourself. We tend to be very demanding and we get angry with ourselves, and no, it's okay. Nobody's perfect. We have better days, we have worse days. What do I like doing? And I think that if you're doing something that you like and you're passionate about, things come together in a nice way.
Oh, amazing. Thank you so much,
Thank
Vered.
you.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
this. Thanks for
Thank you.
inspiring so many women
Thank you.
watching us now. As I mentioned to you, you're a big inspiration to me, and I'm really thankful for everything you have done in my career. And as I mentioned, I'm thrilled to be here with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here. Thanks.
E aqui termina mais um quadro Vozes que Inspiram. A gente se vê na próxima.